I have been obsessed for quite some time with the idea that I can live my life in a different way, that I can perhaps find the holy grail of passive income, that I can find financial freedom. And I started this YouTube channel almost a year ago. And in that year, I have been absolutely obsessed with cryptocurrency and everything to do with that. And if you're subscribed to my channel, then you'll probably subscribe because you're also interested in cryptocurrency. And I've covered lots of my favorite projects and things like that, and will continue to do that. But it was always the aim of this YouTube channel actually to go beyond that and to share with you my journey, my findings, my failures in terms of trying to carve out a different life for myself. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I want to share with you one particular part of my journey that isn't cryptocurrency, but I hope it's going to be of interest to you. So without further ado, let's go. If you, like me, really would like to live your life differently, then you, like me, have probably spent, well, I dread to think how many hours, days, weeks of your life researching how to earn passive income, how to live a different life, how to find financial freedom. And as I've just briefly said in introduction, part of my path has led me to the world of cryptocurrency, which I'm not going to talk about today. Although what I am going to talk about today, you can now buy as of today with cryptocurrency. We'll come back to that though. So I've done so much research and tried so many things, so many different ways of potentially earning income. And many of them have failed, I'll be honest. But it has led me to particular things that I now spend my time doing that do give me some sort of income. And one of those things is what I want to share with you today. Now, before I kind of tell you exactly what it is, let me just tell you the three things actually that led to me creating the product that I'm going to talk to you about today. So just to be clear, these three things I'm just going to cover off now, they didn't suddenly happen one day and I had a eureka moment. Really, when I look back, they been kind of developing or there in my mind for quite some time, years actually. And it's only relatively recently that I kind of thought, hang on, I can do something about this. I can perhaps produce something that is going to help me, but might also help others. Okay, so let's get into this. Stop being so mysterious. So the first thing to recognize is life is horribly busy, complicated, chaotic, and just can cause so much stress and anxiety. And I speak from absolute experience as somebody that's worked full-time all of her life, has raised children, has a house to look after, a relationship also to tend to, and all of these things whirling around can just pull constantly at you. And really, when I think of it, there was a pivotal point a few years ago when something happened. I think there'd been like a major storm and there was something leaking on the roof. And I thought, well, maybe we should look at the house insurance to see if we can claim something to get this mended. And so on searching for the house insurance policy, I suddenly realized I didn't have a house insurance policy because it had dropped off the end of the desk. I'd forgotten about the renewal. And of course, I really kind of tore stripped off myself because how could I forget something so important? And all the, what would have happened at the house set on fire? We would have been destitute and all of this. And I really kind of put myself under a lot of pressure because of it, because I'd failed the family. Anyway, all of that. And of course the guilt complex of being horribly busy and letting balls drop. So that was the first thing. And the maelstrom of life and trying to just live life in domestic chores and admin and all of that can be so crazy. So that's the kind of first thing that I want to recognize. The second thing is actually sparked by my darling mum. I'm so fortunate to still have my parents. They're now in their 80s. But for years, on visiting my mum and dad, my mum has said, now, Andrea, when something happens to me and your dad, there's a list. It's in the sideboard. And of course, I'd kind of just go, oh, whatever, mum. Because I never want to think that anything will happen to my parents. But of course it will. So anyway, maybe once a year she mentions this to me and my brothers. There's a list in the sideboard. Okay, thanks, mum. And just a few years ago, I said to her, okay, mum, show me the list. What is on the list? So she goes to the sideboard and out comes this kind of folded piece of note paper that she got from a notepad. And on this piece of paper, she started to list some incredibly important information that we will need when something happens to my parents. So even basic things like bank accounts, where they have their investments. How would we ever know that? And some other really, really crucial stuff that when that day happens, we can go to the sideboard and we can get the list out, and at least we have a head start knowing how to close down the life of my parents and kind of, avoid the unnecessary stress of trying to piece their life together. So, and I came away from looking at the list thinking, gosh, what would happen if something happened to me and or my husband? How would anybody, our children or whoever, how would anybody even begin to put the pieces together? Because there's so much of my life, my husband's life, our life in this house that's just tacit knowledge. It's stuff that I have in my head. Or we've got squirreled away in kind of drawers, files of letters and papers and documents and all of the stuff, the detritus that belongs to life. But also it goes beyond that. What about all the social media accounts, all the online accounts where we're paying subscription and all of that? Oh my gosh, it's huge. So it was my dear old mum that started this gem of an idea in my head. How this should be managed better. And the third area is actually quite sad and follows on from the second area that I've just been speaking about, because that actually came to pass when we lost my darling mother-in-law a few years ago. And I'll never forget arriving back at her home after she'd passed away, where my father-in-law was, of course, lost soul after losing his wife of 50 odd years. But part of his loss was, and what caused him great sadness, was almost like an anxiety. How do I now live my life? Because she did it all and I don't know where anything is kept. But also his deep sorrow when he was saying, I don't even know what her final wishes were. I don't know what she wanted, how she wanted her funeral to happen. And it's funny, even now, and she passed away 4 or 5 years ago. And even now, with him recently, and he said, do you know what? I've still never found the address book that Margaret had when she was alive, which sounds quite funny, but it's meant he's lost touch with some of their friends who are far-flung, some live, in Australia and what have you. He's completely lost touch with them because he's never been able to find the address book that Margaret kept all of this stuff in. And so, as I say, it was really living through the reality of losing somebody and trying to piece those pieces together. And when I think about it, Margaret's life was relatively straightforward. they had bills to pay and things like that, but no online presence as such. And yet trying to piece her life together in order to, you know, for my father-in-law to be able to carry on, even just in the domestics that he had to do, was so complicated and complex. And I just thought, we could do things better. So those three things have kind of collided in my head over several years actually, and they've kind of bubbled away and led to me creating something, a product, a template, but one that I really, really think can be useful to so many people. And I've called it the Life Stash. And it's got two very, very clear purposes. The first one is to help you, your partner, whoever it is, to feel more in control, to get organized. I'm a great believer in outer serenity, inner calm. If you feel in control of stuff, there's less going on in your head that's going to cause you anxiety and stress, or at least, you know, more space to then concentrate on stuff that really matters, right? So it's about getting organized right now. So if you're single, in a relationship, male, female, it doesn't matter. If you own property, if you have children, if you have pets, if you have an online presence, if you pay bills, you have admin to do that can get very complex and busy and chaotic. So the Life Stash, the first purpose of the Life Stash is absolutely just to help get everybody organized right now. So you don't forget your house insurance policy, for example. That's the first one. But the second very clear purpose, and perhaps for me the more important, is to help you with legacy planning. Just ask yourself the question, if you went out of your house right now and got flattened by the nearest bus, God forbid, you had an accident, something happened to you, which meant either you were completely incapacitated, so, you know, maybe in hospital in a coma or something, or worse, that you pass away. What would happen? What would happen? Who would pick up the pieces and how would they do it? Now, one thing to be really clear of, the Life Stash is not a replacement for a will. Everybody should have a will, absolutely. But the will is kind of the bigger picture stuff, right? Who you're going to leave your house to and all of that stuff. A will does not go into the detail, the nuance that I think is really needed. And that's the gap I'm trying to fill here. So again, go back to the question, what would happen? So if it was me, if myself and the current Mr. Chalk went out for a lovely drive and, you know, we were in a hideous car accident, it happens. Where would our children start? You know, they'd come into the house and they'd have to piece together, even, you know, who do we pay our electricity bill, our gas bill? Do we have life insurance that they can claim on? What would happen to social media accounts? My Facebook account, would it continue? Twitter account, LinkedIn? What about all the online accounts that I have? You know, subscriptions to, I don't know, all sorts of bits and pieces. Apple, Adobe. I mean, you know, I counted up the number of online subscriptions that I have and it's ridiculous. And they might only be a few pounds, but it all mounts up. Where would they start? Well, now they would start with my Life Stash. I've completed the Life Stash for me and my husband, and it's all now there. So they would have something, a reference, almost like, you know, think of it like a motherboard, a circuit board to your life, or the control panel. It's there. It's not going to give them every single thing they need, but imagine if somebody can get hold of the Life Stash and say, okay, so they pay their electricity to Eon. Okay, so we need to call Eon. the gas they pay to, whatever. Oh, there is a life insurance policy, so we need to contact them. We need to stop these subscriptions. All of that. But actually the life stash goes beyond that, because it's not just about daily admin about the house and domestic life. There are sections there about medical history. And it's funny, my daughter was recently going for a medical appointment and the doctor said to her, oh, do you have any family history in A, B and C? She didn't know, she asked me, and I'm kind of, well, yeah, hang on. Your grandma's talked about this and blah, blah, blah. There's a place in the life stash that you can keep that because it's important stuff. There's also a section about what your wishes would be if you did pass away. And of course we know you might make it clear to all your loved ones whether you want to be buried or cremated or what have you, but would they know who to contact? You know, do you want to make it clear in your wishes what kind of music you want? What you want people to wear and all of that. Like, that kind of detailed stuff that the life stash now gives you the opportunity just to capture. And funny, I went through the life stash recently with my father-in-law. And it's hard to talk about this stuff. It's hard to say to an elderly relative, something might happen to you soon. Are you organised? What have you done about your wishes and all of that? But actually with the life stash, it gives the opportunity to have that conversation. So I said to my father-in-law, I've got this thing called the life stash. Why don't we go through it? And he's kind of, we don't need to do that. And I said, well, let's just do it because there's important stuff that we need to record. Anyway, we sat down and did it. And, you know, as I say, his kind of arrangements are very straightforward. He's a simple soul. He doesn't have a lot going on that we need to record, but still, it probably took us a couple of hours. And we had some great conversations in that couple of hours. And it really made him think about what would happen. And particularly when we got to the part at the end about his wishes in terms of his funeral and that kind of thing. First of all, he said, no, it doesn't matter, just do whatever you want. And I'm like, but it's important to me, to your sons, that we know what your wishes are if something happens. And so, you know, we got down to the detail of, well, he particularly liked this particular song at the funeral, and, you know, he'd like to be buried with Margaret and all of that. And I suddenly thought, actually, that's a weight off my mind, knowing that we've now recorded that, but also it's a weight off his mind. So the life stash is to get you organised right now, but also as a gift to your nearest and dearest for when something happens to you, you're making their life much, much easier. So part of the reason for making this video about the life stash is actually to tell you about the life stash because you might be interested. But as I said at the beginning, you know, I've tried lots of different things, and at the end of the day, the life stash is something that I have created. It's a product that I am now selling. So I do want to just cover, you know, my thoughts on the, you know, the difficulties I've encountered in trying to sell something actually. But we'll come to that in a second. First of all, just to say then, so the life stash, what exactly is it? It's actually just something really simple. I wanted something simple, very inexpensive. I want people to buy this and use it as a really helpful tool. I did look at doing something more complex, some sort of online database where people could upload their data and all of that thing. And then I just thought, no, this needs something really simple. So it's literally an Excel spreadsheet, but it's quite a comprehensive one with lots and lots of different tabs to work through and to record your details. I've got 2 different versions in terms of, you know, you might be a single person, so it's the life stash for one. You might not have anybody else in your life, or you might be in a relationship, you might be married, you might share responsibilities. And so there is the life stash for 2. I also have made different versions for different countries. So at the moment I've got one for the UK, Australia, US and Ireland. But I've also made a generic version that anybody can use, doesn't matter which country you're from. So there's different versions available. But when I was thinking about solving this issue, the first thing that I did was to look for something on the market already. Because, you know, it wasn't my first thought to make something to sell. It was, well, I need to solve my own challenge here about how I get more organized, but also how I organize my legacy. So there must be something out there. And so, you know, I did. First thing I always look is Amazon, of course. And there are some little books there that you can write in and record things. But I kind of thought, no, because this is going to be a tool that I use for the rest of my life because it will change. You know, the arrangements I have in my life now at this minute might be very different, you know, in 30 years. So a book wasn't going to do it for me. And then I did find some online solutions where you input your data into a website, and that's kept by a company, and then you give your nearest and dearest the kind of keys to that, if you will, and they can then access your data. But I thought, no, because that doesn't help me get organized right now. I need something that's easy and accessible. And also, I don't want to pay a subscription for this thing, and these things can be quite expensive. So there aren't many solutions out there, but there are some, but not many. And certainly there wasn't the solution that I was looking for. So I've developed the Life Stash as an Excel spreadsheet. If it's the Life Stash for one, then there are, I think it's 36 different tabs. If it's the Life Stash for two, then there are 53. So it's very comprehensive. And you may well think, well, I'll just make my own list, which of course you can do. But what I've done is all the legwork, and I've literally spent hours, days, weeks thinking about what somebody might need to record. So if you're spending more than an hour doing, you know, even coming up with the list in the first place, then it's not going to be worth your while doing it, because I've priced this at a point that is equivalent to 3 or 4 cups of coffee. That's it. I want people to buy this and use it. So it's not going to be worth your while spending 3 or 4 hours just thinking of the categories yourself. That's a waste of your time. I've done that for you. And as you'll see, there are 6 main categories. The first one, me, myself, and us, that's just all about your personal details, just recording life stuff like where you're educated, business details, and things like that. There's then medical. There's then finances, which of course is where you can record anything about investments or bank accounts or cryptocurrency. What would happen to your cryptocurrency if something happened to you? The fourth area is anything about property and possessions. The next one is my digital life. So that's where you can really, you know, just outline anything to do with your social media or email accounts or websites that you might own and things like that. And then the final section is called When I'm Gone. And of course, that's where you will be recording really anything that you want to be taken into account when planning for when you've passed away. So if you want to find out more about the Life Stash, I have a very comprehensive website that I've built. And I'll put the link down below so you can take a look. If you want to purchase, I've kept the cost really, really minimal. I literally spent months developing this thing, but I just want people to use it to get some use out of it, and to make this whole thing of running a household, running your life easier. But more importantly, when we die, let's make things really simple for our loved ones that are left behind. So the way it works, just pop onto the website, you'll find a place to purchase the Life Stash. You just pick the option that you want, and then you pay online, and then you'll receive the files automatically by email. But I'm offering a 10% discount to you through watching this video. There is a discount code called Chalk Talk. Again, details down below. So you just input that at checkout and you'll receive a 10% discount. But really crucially as well, I am accepting cryptocurrency. I am accepting BUSD as payment. And the way to do that, there is a special form on the website. So you just fill in a really simple form. I'll give you a wallet address to send your BUSD to. And then once I've checked that on the blockchain, I will send you the files manually by email. I've already taken into account the 10% discount if you do pay by cryptocurrency, so that's already sewn into the price. So all details online, go take a look. Okay, but now really to talk about this whole thing as a process and what I've learned, from developing a product and I guess taking it to market. And none of this is easy. So first things first to say is I originally started trying to think of what can I sell? What can I do online? And I don't think that really worked for me. What has worked, the proof of the pudding in the life stash, is I have developed something where I feel there's a real gap in the market. It was a gap in my life and a gap when talking to friends and family, a gap in their lives as well. But because I was doing it, because I recognized there was a gap and I needed it, I've thrown everything into it, passion. I want this to really work as a solution because I really believe in it. And I think there's something very important there to learn. So rather than perhaps starting as I did with, okay, I need to sell something, what shall I sell? It's developing a product that you believe in and that you really feel is going to help. So I think that's the first learning that I can take from developing the life stash. The second thing I think is realizing just how much work goes into something like this. I mean, on the surface, this is a really simple Excel spreadsheet that anybody could put together, no question. But I dread to think of the hours that I've spent developing it. And I mean, from the very beginning, so I did start with, I'll just make a list of things for myself. But once I started that, I realized that it's just not as simple as that. There's so many complexities to life. And I want this product not just to work for me, but to work for anybody. And so there has to be flexibility built into that as well. So in the life stash, yes, it's an Excel spreadsheet, but there's places that you can add your own touch. You can add your own fields, you can add notes that means it's applicable to you. And this all takes a lot of time, but also an ability to step outside of yourself and see a product from somebody else's perspective, which is really hard. And in order to do that, I had to do some testing. So I reached out to a group of friends and family, sent them the life stash, and they fed back they gave me their criticism, I guess, their feedback, which is quite hard sometimes to hear because, you're passionate about your thing, you develop it, you spend so much time, you send it out, and then people come back and say, well, yeah, but it could be better. And that's kind of hard also to hear. So I think a lot of lessons to be learned there as well, but so important that you do test it beyond yourself. You're just not developing for you, you're developing it for a market, for your customers. And so you have to really understand what your customer needs. And the third thing I think I just want to touch on is then the marketing of a product, the selling. And I think this is where so many people fail, including my good self. Let me tell you, because I haven't cracked this. I think so much energy is put into developing something. And I am a prime example of this, months through lockdown spent perfecting the life stash and then building the website. And so much thought put into that. And then, you press the go live button. And of course, nothing happens because nobody knows about your amazing product. Nobody knows about it. Who's going to buy it? And this is where I have absolutely fallen. This has been a barrier to me. And this is what I'm really interested in developing my own skills going forward. So I'm going to be absolutely honest. To date, I have sold the life stash. I've sold quite a few, but to friends and family. And I've never really got beyond that. I've tried various means of getting word out there. I've tried social media. So I did some Facebook ads. I did some tweeting. I think I started an Instagram account. But of course, these things are hard and take a lot of time. And I became guilty of really trying hard for a few weeks. And then before seeing real results, I've kind of let it fall. And so falls the perception or the awareness of the product that you're trying to sell. So what I'm doing as part of this video really is undertaking that I am kind of relaunching the Life Stash from now, because I really believe in it. I believe it's a useful product, not only for me, but potentially for you and others. But also I believe it could potentially give me some sort of passive income. But time's going to tell. So I'm making a promise to you. I am going to hold myself responsible, and you're going to hold me responsible for making the Life Stash work. So, as I say, you're now part of that. I've told you about the Life Stash. If it's something that interests you, please do go take a look. Maybe consider buying it for yourself or for others, your loved ones. Spread the word. I'd be really appreciative if you did. And also, I would appreciate it if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, but you found this interesting. If you want to hear about my future ventures into trying to reach financial freedom, if you want to hear about some of my other failures, but also some successes from the past as well, I'm going to be making more of this type of video going forward. So, as I said, I am still going to be making videos about cryptocurrency because that's also part of my journey, but there's other stuff that I want to talk about as well. So please do subscribe. Also, please give this video a little like, because it does help to get awareness out to other people that this might be of interest. But I think I've probably talked enough. This is now a very long video and I'm sorry about that. But as I said, I hope it's been interesting. But I am going to sign off for now. Leaves me to say thank you. Thank you for staying with me through this video, and I hope to see you on my next one. But until then, I'm just going to say cheers.
Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days.